Recording is on.
Cool. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so we're here on the wallet improvement project, design improvement project call number, I don't know what, but this is our second one of 2022. And we got Hampus here from the Blixt wallet project. And we're just going to talk about, let him explain to us, how his project works, what his goals are for the project, what kind of users he's trying to reach with this wallet, what kinds of problems he's trying to solve for those users, and just discuss ways that we could collaborate together over the next year. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Hampus.
Yes, sure. So I started Blixt in 2019 in the beginning there of the year. And I wanted to make a wallet for a long time, but it seemed like the right time with Lightning getting in popularity and stuff. So I mostly wanted to build a wallet because I wanted to improve the UX of wallets in general. And coming from like a Bitcoin wallets where the transaction log is a mess, because you only see like the cryptic Bitcoin addresses and you don't really know what you have done, like what transaction you've done and so on. So much of the focus has been to have like the scripting and clear transaction log. So like I think I'm still the only wallet, maybe there's some more, maybe Moon, that has like in the transaction log for each payment, I actually include like a little server's icon, so you know what you have actually paid to or from get money from. So things like that is just small things that I've tried to improve upon to keep like a clear view of what's happening in the wallets. And I'm not like Lightning itself improves upon normal Bitcoin on chain, because on Bitcoin on chain you don't even provide a label or description. In Lightning we at least have like a description that you can include to an invoice. But yeah, that can also be further improved upon with things like LN URL Pay. But yeah, so I've focused a lot on things like that, like trying to convey or to have a good transaction log that you can see and backtrack to. Because we can actually improve things regarding this compared to the old legacy bank system. Other than that, like how Bitcoin stands right now is like it's actually trying to compete against Moon, Breeze, and Phoenix, but I don't have the same resources that they do, because I'm an independent open source project here. But I'm still managing to keep up with them, which is quite nice, and that has been much of the feedback from users as well. They enjoy that. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that the project right now is trying to keep up with features that the big dogs, so to say, have. For example, I also do the thing where you can just get them channel automatically when you get them payment to you, like called on the fly channels and stuff like that. So yeah, and like the target audience for Blixt is kind of tricky, because the target audience, the stated mission of the project is to appeal to Bitcoin users that want to try using Lightning, because there are a lot of us that still haven't tried out yet. So my mission was to try to get them on board and just try it out for fun, like to use it. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, that hasn't been the audience quite yet, I think, because it looks, for me at least, that the audience right now is enthusiastic users that mostly enjoy the flexibility and tools available in Blixt, because I have like full parity with the LN URL protocol and WebLN and other things that is like bleeding edge. I also have Lightning address support and stuff. So it has appealed a lot to like power users right now. And that's kind of a dilemma because I really want to try to focus on newbies actually, but I think we can do both actually. So that's something design-wise that I'm struggling with. I still want to support like power users, but at the same time allow newbies to get involved, if that makes sense. So I think that will bring some design challenges coming into the future, because it means that we can't have like all the different advanced settings up front. Maybe we should try to hide that in some pro like mode or something, if that makes sense. What else can I say? Yeah, that's basically the product right now. And also I'm trying to, like, I'm pretty dependent on the L&D projects really, because I'm not forking off from the project like Reese has done, because they have more resources. So I'm trying to keep on par with what L&D is doing. So I'm maintaining a contact with Lightning Labs and so on. And yeah, hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't used. I think I tried setting up a Blixt wallet once, sometime back in 2021, and I remember the channel, the way that the onboarding worked was kind of interesting. I think you had an automatic channel selection process. Could you remind us maybe of what that process looked like?
Yeah, sure. Like there are like 3 ways to get on board in Blixt. You can do this on-the-fly channel thing where you just pay an invoice in your wallet, or to your wallet, I mean, and then a channel will be created automatically for you. It's the same that Breeze and Phoenix do. They, like, you can just send them payment to them, and the LSP, the Lightning Service Provider, will automatically open a channel towards you. So that's available in Blixt, but I think like the onboarding needs to be revamped there. So what the user will be presented with is it's an on-chain QR code that you are supposed to send on-chain money to, coins to. And what will happen is that those funds will be used to open a channel automatically to the Lightning node. Yeah, sure. Someone want to speak?
Yeah, I just had a question regarding like when you said the newbies and the power user. Like when I look at the Blixt wallet in the menu, I see like advanced, like key seed experiment. I was wondering what would be the features for the newbies that are necessary for them versus features for advanced user.
Sorry, what did you say with the features of?
Yeah, so you were saying that you want to create the wallet for advanced user, but also to be easy to use, like for newbies. And when I look at the menu with all the different like features, pass from clipboard into Lightning address, and also under like advanced, I see like key send experiment. I was wondering if there's other features that are, you would say, strictly advanced, or if there's features that are strictly newbie, or maybe like both of them should be.
It's the settings screen in general is, at least in my opinion, quite advanced, because there are a lot of things that newbies don't necessarily understand and know about. But there are also other things that are intimidating. Like if you press on the details of a payment, there's a lot of like technical stuff like hash and what's it called, pre-image and other things. So my thinking is that you will have like a pro mode or power user mode where settings and other like information is hidden. So it's not only like the settings in the options in the settings. It could also be other things. So yeah, mostly, but I'm not sure if that. I think that's something that needs to be discussed in general, if that's a good approach to hide stuff. But in general, I was thinking about having like a light mode, basically, where it just stripped out most of the things, basically, if that makes sense. And yeah, as you can see in Christoph's screen, you can play around with Blixt on the blixt.com website as well, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, I had this idea as well, but of course, like it will need to be discussed more profoundly.
We can definitely discuss more. Because that's something that has been I've been struggling about for a long time now, how to deal with adding new features that I like, because I'm a nerd, so I like to add stuff. But I understand that newbies won't it won't appeal to newbies that is just coming around to Bitcoin and Lightning.
I have a question about newbies. So like, I was curious like what exact definition is for newbies, like someone just heard about Bitcoin, someone who sent a transaction before? Like,
I will. Well, when I say newbies, I'm probably referring to Bitcoiners that don't understand Lightning. But you also have newbies as well. Like you have newbies for Bitcoin, but let's keep it as Bitcoiners that doesn't know about Lightning, because a Bitcoiner won't know what a preimage is or a hash or a invoice. Really, they don't understand invoices, because in on-chain you only have an address you send to, right? So I think that makes sense here in context, at least. Then moving on, that might change, but right now I'm referring to newbies as like Bitcoin users, basically.
got it. Thank you. Have we talked to any newbies at all, like for user research?
Well, the thing is that I often get enthusiastic users to my Telegram chat group, but you also sometimes get like new people that just tried out Lightning and don't know about the concepts, but they usually have a good time, fortunately.
Well, that's kind of why I was asking about the onboarding process.
Yes.
And that is exactly that is what I remembered. I wanted to hear it from you, because I couldn't remember if it was another wallet, but like to tie this into what Glory was asking about, like the definition of a newbie. And so for these purposes, if we define it as, well, someone who's into Bitcoin but just doesn't know Lightning yet, so that kind of so like that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry myself. Because I'm not really focusing on like newcomers to Bitcoin right now. At least I think that's too much overwhelming. Although we actually have a small core of Salvadorians actually using Blixt, which is funny and really wholesome. So there are real newbies to Bitcoin as well using Blixt right now. So they seem to have a good time, which is nice. But I'm mostly referring to Bitcoin newbies. And just to go back to the onboarding, so you had this on the non-channel concept where you pay on Lightning invoice, but you were presented to in Blixt is the QR code that you're supposed to send on-chain to, and then it opens automatically to the Lightning node. And the third way is you can also manually open a channel to your own node if you want to, if you have an umbrella at home or something like that. And that seems to be quite popular, because I can see the number of users connected to me, but I also know that there are a lot of people actually using Umbrella and their own full node, their own Lightning node, and connecting to that instead. So those are the three ways of using Blixt, I will say. You pay an invoice, you send on chain to open channel, or you send on chain open channel manually if you want to.
Okay, I think I might have missed a step there. So obviously we have the one method would be to open a channel with your full node. Another method would be to do the on-chain. Well, I remember the on-chain payment. The idea is you send it generates an on-chain address. You send yourself Bitcoin. Channels open automatically. But you said you can actually do one where you make an invoice instead of a QR code.
Yes. it's so I can try to go back to that. So it works is that it's not like this is the problem right now with the onboarding, because the onboarding right now is not like it needs a revamp to utilize this new functionality, because it's kind of in alpha stage still. Although we've had 100 openings already successfully, so it seems to be working. So that's something that will be released Q1 or Q2 this year. So how it works is that you will just create a normal invoice, and then when someone pays that invoice, a channel will be on the fly open to you. So it will just in time be open towards you. So you don't need to care about anything really. You just need to use Blixt.
That sounds very similar to how Breeze operates.
Yes, it's basically the same concept. Yeah, it works the same.
Yeah, I really like that, because what I was trying to allude to before is, this idea that if we're assuming that these noobs already own Bitcoin, that on-chain method is very, very geared towards them, because we're making the assumption that they already hold Bitcoin. They already know how to send back and forth between on-chain addresses. This idea of you generate an invoice and the channel is opened automatically in a Breeze-like manner seems like a very good onboarding technique for the people who don't hold Bitcoin yet, because then you can say, oh, send me some Bitcoin, and you get your friend to send you some, and it opens your first channel for you automatically. I'm a little curious about the full node option, though. Is that remotely connecting to the node, or is it actually opening a channel with your Umbrel?
I'm not entirely following. What do you mean by full node?
Well, you said the third option would be to connect to the Umbrel, and
yeah, sorry, yeah, I will try to stop. It was a bad explanation. What I mean is that you can disable the automatic channel opening. So if you send on-chain to Blixt, to the on-chain address, you can use those funds to open like a channel towards your Umbrel. So you just scan it's called like a node URI. You scan in the QR code, and then you can open a channel towards your node instead.
Yeah, that makes total sense from a technical perspective. I'm curious if if you understand why people are using it in that way. The only reason I ask is because, like for me personally, for my Umbrel node, I use Zeus with that, and I'm basically it's like I already have the node at home, and I'm just managing it. I'm just kind of managing the node remotely from my app. So I'm curious, like, what is there a benefit people see in like opening, kind of having two nodes, one in their pocket, one at home, and having a channel between them?
No, I think so. Like you have your Umbrel node at home. It's the routing node basically, right?
Yeah.
But you also like Pocket Money, which will be your Blixt that you connect to your. I understand. I agree with you that you can also use Zeus and just remotely control your Umbrel and stuff.
Well, I guess the Zeus.
It seems like it's popular to do this opening channel towards your Umbrel as well.
And I guess you could take your Blixt wallet and your Umbrel, and you could configure the channel settings to use 0 routing fees, because if you own both of the nodes, you're like, well, why do I want to charge myself to route?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that seems to be quite popular. I mean, I don't have any data, but I see people coming into the chat and asking these questions and so on. So it seems to be popular thing to do. But probably most people are connected to my node, but there are some users doing this. Yes.
I have a totally different question, if that's okay. What does your design process look like? When somebody comes around and they say, I want this, and you decide, cool, let's do it. I will make this happen for you. Or what do you do?
Well, I'm not a designer, as you might can tell, but I'm mostly just brute forcing until I think it looks good. That has been the design process so far, to be honest. So that is something that I desperately need help with. I think the overview screen is quite nice with the gradient orange, but the other screens could have UX and UI improvements for sure. But so there is no real process behind the design, rather other than what I think is good is what goes. If that makes sense.
No, it's totally natural for a one-person project, right? If a designer starts a project, their tech is going to be really crappy probably, and like everybody works with the strengths that they have, right? That's just totally normal.
Exactly.
I totally get it.
So but that's something like, because as I said, I'm not a designer, so this is my best effort to do something, and I think that, like as I said, the overview screen, I think that's quite good in my opinion at least. But if you press on receive or go to the other screens, they can be improved a lot, I think, because they look kind of like basic, might be the right word, like it's.
Did we lose him?
I think so.
Yeah,
I thought it was my sound crapping out.
Yeah, he has a low connection there. Lost connection. Just like me earlier, I had a 5-minute internet outage at home. Now it's his turn.
Christoph, did you mean to ask how he designed the interface, or how he handled feature requests, or both?
Everything. Just generally about his process, how he goes about when he decided something should be changed or added, just how he does it.
Yeah, I would be curious, how he decides which feature should be implemented.
Because if we, there he is. Welcome back.
Maybe I've not spent as much time in.
Sorry, was that Anthony?
Hello? Can you hear me?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay, sorry, I thought I heard somebody say something, got cut off too. Okay, what were we talking about? Design process, right? Were we still on that topic?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Because one of the things then is for the remainder of this wallet improvement project is then, well, how do we work together? For a designer, and probably for other people too, it's hard when you just have the application, and that's why we have Figma right here with all of those screenshots. That way, everything is laid out and next to each other. You can really get an idea of the whole thing, and it allows you to more easily compare things. Are certain terms used here? Are they the same on this other screen? How does the sequence work? And all of those different states when the users, especially things when the user's already further along in their experience and they have 50 transactions and they get an error. That's something that's not obvious if you just play with the app for 5 minutes. But if you have a design file or this collection of screenshots, then it's easier for everybody to look at the same thing and talk about them. So I just wanted to bring up the design process thing because if we want to work together, then somehow we need to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense.
And it doesn't have. I think sometimes there's also the idea that you instantly build a full design system, we build everything from scratch, and that can also be a bit too much sometimes. So I was just wondering if you have any ideas of how you would like to go about things, how you would like to get design input and have these conversations.
That's a good question, I guess. Because what I would think about is let's say the receive screen, for example. I would like that to be improved. So I suppose everything could be scratched here, basically from scratch. But at the same time, I guess it needs to feel coherent in the app itself. So that's a kind of tricky one. But if we would improve the receive screen, just having Figma designed for each screen and the flow will be for me it's yeah, if that makes sense. I'm not sure exactly how to answer that question.
Yeah, and something I've seen work before is you split it up in a few different buckets. It's always tempting to start with visual design, like, oh, this could look better, this color could be different, but that's just pure visual styling, and that's sometimes not the right thing to even focus on right away. So a lot of times there's very easy low-hanging fruit. Sometimes like changing this text here, adding an icon, changing the way the input field works is already addresses a bunch of usability things. And that's just, per screen. It's almost like UI bug fixing in a way. And then UI styling, if the things work pretty well right now, it's not a huge deal, even though every designer wants to work on it. Sometimes good to keep that for later. And you can decide then if you want to tackle the visual part, or if you want to, after you're done with UI bug fixing, if you focus on user flows. So there might be a sequence of sending something or receiving something or onboarding, and then you just focus on that sequence as a whole, and you kind of pick sequence by sequence and focus on one thing after the other in kind of buckets that address user feedback and are also can be implemented then as a whole. So they're kind of ticked off, and then you move on to the next one. So those are just some ideas for how this could work. And then at that point, you can even work with a mixture of screenshots and kind of drawing over them, or you can redo the same design in Figma, and you don't worry so much about the perfect design system and all that, and you build that over time later on. You're muted right now.
Oh, sorry. Something I've learned a lot, like with Blixt and software development in general, but it applies here as well, is like iterations. So you iterate over stuff, because that's basically how I managed to do Blixt, is that you take it in iterations. You don't do everything perfect at once, if that makes sense. So doing something similar with the design and UX seems appropriate to me, at least. Because that's how I've done Blixt and other things in the past, which has worked out great. I usually like to do like MVPs and like try to get some minimal valuable stuff out and to testing.
Yeah, and then I assume sometimes you reach a point where you're like, okay, this needs to be redone. It's not working anymore. It needs to go beyond MVP, and then you just kind of rethink it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of the case with the Tor. Like I have a Tor implementation right now that I'm reworking a lot because it needs to be more stable and stuff. So yes.
So we're almost 5 minutes to the hour. We started late. We can talk longer if we want to, if there's interest. We can also talk about next steps if we want to. It's also an option. And I think in the kickoff call, one of the big ideas was to do this design sprint, where we get together for several hours over several days or so, and we go through this process of laying out all of these ideas, everything that could be done, all the big missions, and then systematically work through them until there are very specific user flows and things to work on in this collaborative process. And then afterwards, you take that and you turn it into practical things you work on. Stephen, did I capture that correctly? Or what do you think we should?
Yeah, I think that's what I remember talking about on the last call.
Yeah, so should we try to plan that next, or what do you think would be some other good things to do? More research, so gather lists of features and things to work on. What do you think?
I guess like I might be missing something, but it's still not clear to me like how much real user research that we have done. Like I know we have Telegram chats and we can analyze the sentiment, but like have we actually observed a few people like just playing and with the app and what their pain points are? I'm curious about that process.
Yeah, well, that has been like the major problem in general is getting user feedback. Actually, so I don't have much user feedback. That's the honest truth. I have the Telegram chat, but those are usually the common questions, right, that we get a lot. But I'm trying to understand like how people use Blixt and where the pain points are, but I don't have that, unfortunately. Sorry for that answer, but that's the that's the case. So that needs to be figured out. Yeah, sorry.
I just had an idea because I'm in Austin and there is a Pleb Lab here in Austin. So I wasn't, if you are interested or if this is the next step, I could go to Pleb Lab and ask the Bitcoiners there to test the Blixt wallet with a set of questions and even record it if you guys want to. I'd be happy to do that.
That will be greatly appreciated, actually, because yeah, that will be great. Because like the number of users are going up, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like the user feedback is going up. So like I'm kind of in the dark, which is yeah. So it's really appreciated to try to somehow get feedback. You know, I have Darkcoin and other people around me that is helping out, but I don't know like the common user and stuff actually. I have in the app, I have like the help icon that you can click on, so you can email me and go to Telegram go to the Telegram group. But most people don't do that. So yeah, so somehow get user feedback will be really good. And I think the most pain points are like I think the onboarding is quite a struggle for users because it needs to be improved and it has been improved as well in the past now. But I think that is most of the confusion in the onboarding, and maybe also like the one of the things that Blixt does is that it separates the on-chain part from the Lightning part. So the overview screen is only about Lightning because I'm really trying to hide the on-chain when you get into Blixt. So that part is like it's not in the overview screen. You have to go to the left menu and then you find the on-chain section basically. And I think users sometimes doesn't understand this for good reasons because it's not really explained to them. So yeah, those are some things that I know about, but there might be much more things.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Yeah, and so that would be super good. And something so John's has been has the most experience with these design sprints, and that question came up last time too. And he said that in these design sprints, you kind of want the expert, in-depth developer, designer, and also somebody who can represent the user, right? Somebody who has, Hampus, this might be you actually in this case, where over time since the beginning of the project, you have been the support person. You have been had the most exposure. And then, it's good to have somebody, from this group here who has done the secondary research and the primary research, the primary being directly talking to people, and the secondary looking at what's already out there, just gathering kind of what's out there. And then then in the design sprint, you work with those experts and ideally, everybody brings in a different angle and together they can work through this and come up with something useful.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Stephen, do you have any other questions or anything you think we should discuss now?
Not particularly. Nothing for me at least. You had asked kind of openly about next steps. Seems like, like you said, John's has kind of the most experience with these design sprint kind of events. So it might be good to reach out to him and get some input from him on, maybe planning a design sprint or something like that for Blixt. And, I think that Laura, you brought up about the testing was the user research is a good point. The closest thing that I can think of we have to this is when we did one of these onboarding calls in the past. When we did a wallet improvement project in the past, and we discussed the Blixt onboarding, but it wasn't really the same as researching with real users. It was kind of a bunch of us designers kind of nitpicking a bunch of stuff. So I think that's certainly if we can put together some kind of user research kind of thing, sounded interested in that, I think that would be really cool. So yeah, I think just we should just focus on planning some more calls and events around this.
I can quickly go back to Gloria and your question regarding like user feedback and I actually have I'm trying to have a Trello board where I put all the questions and concerns for the users. So unfortunately, as I'm doing everything, I'm not really good at using Trello, but I guess I need to do that more better too, so we can gather data that is better to easier to read than going through these chat messages in Telegram. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about helping users and gathering feedback, is to use a simple Trello board, really, where I can gather everything. So that's something I have set up already for the project. And also just for for transparency, I also have a public Trello board where I usually put bigger tasks that is ongoing for the project, not necessarily user feedback, more projects then. So that's just so you know, it's something, because I think if I recall correctly, BTC Pay Server does something similar where they have those things public, which is quite nice for open source projects, I think, to be transparent. So yeah, and also I use GitHub for the programming issues and so on.
Very cool. Is that link to that somewhere on GitHub, maybe, for the Trello board?
I think I have a link in my. I can put. Just give me a second. I will give it. I don't think it exists in the GitHub repository. 1 second.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Yeah, it's. Let's see. Okay, so here is here's the official public Trello board for the project. So yeah, and the things that are in there is it's supposed to be more bigger stuff. I won't put everything there. It's an overview of the big stuff that is coming out in the future here. So one of these needs to be moved to there. So you can see on the ongoing part, it's the Lightning Box privacy policy. It's in FAQ and translation. So that's kind of the big things that I'm working on right now, especially translation, because we have a lot of Spanish-speaking people, because Blixt got some traction regarding those communities, including El Salvador. So I'm trying to translate the app completely to Spanish as well. So that's something that's the primary focus right now for Blixt.
Okay, that's awesome. So that's those are basically the big pit. That's a big roadmap.
Yeah.
And then looking at the issues here.
Yeah, that's everything.
Kind of the small stuff.
Yeah, that everything goes there basically. And also when I also have a lot of ideas. So the reason why it's so many issues is because I put every idea in there as well. It's not really a tracker of it's not like a health tracker, how if it's less issues means it's better. It's more I just put them. It's a backlog basically. It's a backlog. So everything goes in there. So yeah.
So how much interaction from other people do you get on the GitHub repo?
I get occasionally people filing issues and stuff, but it's mostly through Telegram. But it occasionally happens. It occasionally happens that people email me as well. But yeah.
And code contributors?
Well, basically never. That's yeah. I'll try to make the product easy to developers to get into. That's kind of why I have the web version. But I think the project is still too young in order to regenerate a buzz from developers. But hopefully it will come eventually.
Is it something that you actively want to try to push
and
open up?
Yes, I want to open up and push for that. And I do actually have 1 or 2 guys right now helping out. Like one of the guys helping out is regarding the translation actually. So I have a guy that he is actually translating the app to Spanish, but also building the actual app to support translation. So that's a really good contributor right there. But that's basically the only one I got right now. Then I have other people contributing to the project, but not code-wise, so to say. And yes, that is something I wish to somehow push for if people, because the goal is to be an open source project, right? To be more open. Yeah.
That's awesome, because that's kind of almost a design challenge in itself. Right? If let's say you look at the website, you try to figure out how can you create a section or an area where you speak to developers and you bring them in. Yeah. All the open source projects have that challenge. They want to be open and people to come in, but it's always tricky.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think part of the design sprint is actually going through all of these things, not just if there's interest, not just the UI, but also the website and all the bigger picture stuff, and then end up with kind of a prioritized, more specific list of things that should be tackled next.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Yeah, cool. Any other questions for Hampus while he's here? Anything you'd like to? I'm sure he's open for personal questions too. If you'd like to hear more about the lamp, for example.
You can just write to me in the Bitcoin design Slack group. What did you say? What did you say?
I'm just joking, but people can ask you personal questions or anything else too. I'm sure you'll answer everything.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay.
So I guess I wonder what do you think is the main differentiator for Blixt? Like there are some competitors that you're competing against. What do you think set Blixt apart from them?
Well, I think the biggest difference is probably not the app itself, but rather the process or how it was built. Because it's me and Anton are the only ones, at least in the non-custodial phase, that doesn't have any funding per se. We're more like an independent project than the rest. The app-wise itself, it's like Blixt is on par with a lot of the cutting edge stuff, like Lightning address and so on, and more things to come there. I'm trying to aggressively improve upon UX, for example. So that is why I'm very interested in the concept of Lightning address. Should I make a brief explanation of what that is, or does everyone know what the Lightning address is? Okay, yeah.
I know what it is. Not sure about the others.
Yeah, I can go. So there is a new concept in Lightning called the Lightning address. And what it is basically an email address, like an email address format that you can send to. It's not a real email, but it uses the same like hampus@blixtwallet.com format. So that it makes it really easy for people to send money to each other, because they won't need a QR code or an invoice anymore. And I think stuff like that is amazing for improving UX in Bitcoin and Lightning. So I'm really trying to push forward a lot with that to improve UX. And most wallets are stuck in using normal invoices, for example, but I will probably push really hard for Lightning address this year. Blixt is still using invoices and QR codes and stuff, but I see a future where maybe Blixt will use Lightning address firsthand, basically, because it improves UX that much, in my opinion, at least. And the riffing, it's Blixt is similar to the rest, Breeze and stuff, but it also like it has it's the case and have it too, because I also have a lot of flexibility if you would like to do it. Like you could use Blixt like you would use Breeze, but you could also then later on choose to like connect to your own node and connect to your own full node and stuff. And the other wallets doesn't really support that flexibility. So that puts Blixt kind of in the middle, if that makes sense. It provides both things. Like you can do manual stuff, but you can also do convenient automatic stuff. And that has been something that users have they have told me that they like that they can do both. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sounds like user experience, having these like latest features are sound like really important to you.
Yeah, it's important. I think it's kind of like where Bitcoin, no, not Bitcoin, but Blixt got traction as well, because like when people go into the LN project site on GitHub, like they see that Blixt supports everything. So they try it out because they want to know what it's all about, and then it seems like they get hooked on for that. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean by enthusiastic users. Or it's appealing to enthusiastic users right now because Blixt supports much of the new stuff. But as I said before, that's a challenge because I would like to appeal more to like newbies, like new Bitcoin users that wants to try out Lightning. But we can. I think we can do both. Actually, it seems plausible to me.
That's a really good design challenge. You get a really up-to-date wallet that is, community based. That's not no company or no, like Breeze. They want to do this whole Lightning. Even on the website, it says something like your connection to the Lightning ecosystem. Right? There's this big overarching goal. And with Blixt, it's a little bit, maybe it's like you get the latest, fastest community-based one, and it does manage to give you all these new features without overwhelming you.
Yeah.
And if you choose to, you can be overwhelmed by going to advanced settings or whatever.
Yes, you can. You can press yourself to be overwhelmed if you click on the wrong stuff. But,
the overwhelm me button.
Exactly. Yeah, but for example, here's a good example of why this strategy has worked out, at least in my opinion. Like there is a specification in here. It's called balance check, I think. And what it allows is that you could keep like your account of an exchange. Let's say the LN markets site, like the exchange there. You could keep that as an exchange, like an account inside your Blixt wallet app, as because I have a contact list where you could add different Lightning addresses to your friends. But you can also keep your own account of LN Markets or Collider or whatever exchange support this functionality and technology. So those things are not overwhelming. It just, in my opinion, just improves UX because you can slide the left menu and then you find the contact list, contact and services where you can keep all the different contacts that you have. So that's why I like especially LNURL a lot, because it usually improves UX very much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I'm gonna make yourself repeat, but just to have more confirmation. What would you say is the thing that is the most misunderstood by the user about your app?
I think it is the on-chain versus Lightning stuff has been a repeating concern or issue. Like how Blixt works is that the overview screen is only for Lightning payments, and then the on-chain wallet is like hidden away in another place. But it's not always clear for the user how it works. Like they might think that the overview screen is also for on-chain payments, but it's not, because when you use like the point when you use Blixt is that you are only supposed to have Lightning funds. Really, you're not supposed to use Blixt as an on-chain wallet, but there is still a section for that, and yeah. So if that makes sense. So sometimes the user doesn't understand where the money is. So that's something that needs to be addressed somehow. Like it will probably just be a notification telling them that, okay, oh, there's funds in the on-chain part, and then they can click on a button to reach those funds. But yeah, users could get scared sometimes when it says 0 Bitcoin, but in actuality, it's just that it's hidden away in the on-chain wallet part of the app. Maybe I could show you exactly how that looks another time or something, if that's difficult to follow what I mean here. But yeah.
And I think I think Zeus is Bosch, who designs Zeus wallet. He's looking at he's struggling with the exact same thing. How to differentiate. It's almost like you have two accounts, but the one's kind of tucked away, and things kind of almost get automatically moved between the two sometimes, and it's maybe not always obvious, especially in the first deposit, and that creates that confusion. Like, do you show people both of these accounts? If so, what do you call them? How do you explain the difference between them? That's kind of a tricky one.
It's a definitely tricky one, and it's a tricky one in general for Lightning wallets, I think. But my I didn't want it to be like an overview screen where you have two different balances. I wanted it to be one. So that's why I made it like it is right now. Like you see now on your screen where it says 0 Bitcoin or 0 USD. Like if you remember the old eClear wallet app, you have like both balances shown on the overview screen, and I personally don't like that. So that's why it's kept simple and clean right now. And but I think this can be solved by just having some kind of notification, because the user should not really use Blixt as an on-chain wallet anyways. So there shouldn't actually be any on-chain funds. But let's say there is on-chain funds, then we need to tell the user that somehow, I think. If we were to keep this design, so to say, only show the Lightning balance on the overview screen.
Yeah, good design challenges there. And I think some of the design challenges are very detailed. If you just think about, balance, transaction, send, receive, that sounds really simple. There's a lot of complexity in the details.
Definitely.
And then you go through the design process, and then it becomes simple in the end, hopefully, if you do things right. Yeah, cool. Should we wrap it up, or any more questions?
I'm good for now.
Cool.
So I hope I answered your question. Yeah, I will say that's the primary challenge right now, at least with the on-chain Lightning.
Yeah, we should offline in the wallet improvement channel or somewhere else. We should take notes, do some bit more research, and then try to plan out this design sprint. And I think some of us designers, it's also helpful if we play with the wallet a bit more, get a feel for it, look through the data Millie has put together and the Trello board that you shared, just become familiar with everything, and then we can figure out a plan for how we'll tackle the next steps. But yeah, I'm excited about tackling these things. So, and it's awesome to have you here, and you being so open with everything. Well, thank you for that.
I think this is really great. One of the things that I've tried to get help regarding design and basically everything. So I really appreciate you guys wanting to improve things basically and work together. And yeah.
Awesome, cool, excellent conditions here. Let's make something happen. I'm gonna stop the recording now. Here we go.